according to the scriptures, the earth is going to be divided, it appears, into 10 regions because of the 10 horns. Now, some say this could just be 10 separate rulers, but it's going to be both, rulers and horns. Now, back in 1941, there was a map that was created by the Illuminati that fell into the wrong hands. This was a map designed by the Illuminati for their post-World War map, what the world would be divided into. It was going to be divided into 9 sections. Now, how this fell into anyone's hands, I really don't know. But I do know for a fact that this was created by the Illuminati. I remember seeing this ages ago. However, biblical prophecy was fulfilled by the Illuminati through one of their front organizations known as the Club of Rome, when they took the very same map and divided the world not into 9 regions, but into 10. And this is what we find in the book of Revelation, chapter 13, that it would be a 10-world confederation. I don't believe this is referring to just 10 common markets within the European community. No. I've always believed that this is referencing the earth being divided into 10 regions because of what I had learned when I was in the organization of the Illuminati.
Reorganization of all the world's nations into exactly 10 supernations. After this I saw in the night vision, and behold, a fourth beast, dreadful and terrible, and strong exceedingly, and it had great iron teeth. It devoured and brake in pieces, and stamped the residue with the feet of it. And it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns. I considered the horns, and behold, there came up among them another little horn, before whom there were 3 of the first horns plucked up by the roots. And behold, in this horn were eyes like the eyes of a man, and a mouth speaking great things. The little horn of verse 8 is Antichrist. Since this prophecy depicts him as appearing only after the 10 horns, or leaders, Bible scholars have called Antichrist the 11th horn. Interestingly, the satanic view of the sacred number of Antichrist is also 11. Now let us examine Daniel 7:7 through 8 again, for we shall see the sequence by which we can know with certainty the approximate time when World War III, designed to produce Antichrist, is getting ready to explode. Let us examine carefully. I considered the horns, and behold, there came up among them another horn, a little one. Please carefully notice the sequence here. Daniel saw in God's vision that the world's many nations had been reorganized into only 10, each one with a leader. After the 10 supernations were formed, Antichrist arises. Therefore, it should be a simple matter to determine whether the world is close to the appearance of Antichrist, or whether we are some years away. All we have to do is keep our minds focused on the formation of the Illuminati plan for 10 supernations. Antichrist literally cannot arise until the 10 supernations are fully formed and functioning as nations function. In other words, with a single government, single currency, and single unit of law. What is the exact listing of the planned 10-nation confederacy? First, North America, then Western Europe, Japan, Australia, South Africa, and the rest of the market economy of the developed world. Eastern Europe, including Russia, Latin America, North Africa and the Middle East, Tropical Africa, South and Southeast Asia, China. What's the progress toward fulfillment of these 10 supernations? Here are the supernations already in place. Japan, nation number 3. She is listed in this plan as she now exists. China is nation number 10. She is listed in the plan as she now exists. Western Europe is nation number 2. While the European Union has most of the trappings of a single nation, in other words, single regional parliament, single currency, abolition of border restrictions, it is still not quite a single nation. In fact, European voters have struck down several referendums which would have gone the final mile in establishing a complete single nation. Now the Illuminati is trying to figure out how to achieve a single nation without referring the matter to a vote. Here are supernations forming, but not there yet. NAFTA, the North American Union, nation number 1. Congress originally created this entity as a trading bloc in 1993, fully intending to bring it to full nation status as soon as possible. But to date, little progress has been made in creating a single parliament, a single currency, a regional nation without border restrictions. Once President Obama achieves his current goal, particularly establishing an irreversible momentum towards fascism, he will turn his attention to the North American Union. He has to be very popular to overcome all the obstacles which are now standing in his way.
Almost unnoticed, a week ago, the Declaration of North America was signed. In it, the presidents of Mexico, America, and the Prime Minister of Canada talk about North American DNA, as if to say, we are one people. I think the subplot is perhaps they're thinking about planning one country. Why do I say that? They talk about ever closer cooperation on health, defense, immigration. Americans, we've seen this playbook before. It was called the common market. Nothing to worry our little heads about, and it turned into the European Union.
South and Southeast Asia is nation number 9. Officially known as ASEAN, this supernation is beginning to form, but it has a long way to go, and it must overcome the fact that some of the member nations are democracies and may face the same voter rebellion which erupted in the EU.
Our formula is different. We're not trying to really be a union, at the most a community.
And for a region sandwiched between two giants, a rising China and a rising India, unity is the only way forward.
Learning to work together is perhaps the best way in a tense Asia, in an underdeveloped Asia, to make us collectively matter more than if we were apart. So the old saying, I think, still goes. If we don't hang together, we'll hang separately.
Now the supernations not even started forming yet. Australia, South Africa, and the rest of the market economy of the developed world is nation number 4. This supernation is circled on this map and is the only one which will span an entire ocean. It has not started forming yet.
So I found this website, the Australian Institute of International Affairs. This article was written on December 23rd of 2022. I want to read just a small portion of this to you. It says here, Australia wants to reinvigorate ties with Africa. It says here, with the potential to shift the world's commercial and economic focus, it is about time Australia improved its ties with the African continent. More ministerial trips are required, but the Labour Party is off to a good start. Last week, Tim Watts, Australia's Assistant Foreign Minister, undertook a significant trip to the African continent, his journey taking in Ghana, South Africa, and Morocco, and all the World Cup fanfare, yeah, of course, marked the first such visit to the continent by any Australian Foreign Affairs ministerial representative in 6 years. Hopefully it's a sign of a reinvigorated, more mature, consistent, robust engagement with this dynamic and increasingly influential part of the world. I mean, people, that's absolutely what Doc is talking about in this video. It's exactly what's going on. I mean, you couldn't get any clearer. These nations, these 10 kingdoms, are beginning to form. We are in the time right now.
Eastern Europe, including Russia, is nation number 5. While Russia is now trying to exercise hegemony over Eastern European nations, which are formally part of the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics, she has experienced real trouble with the Ukraine, Georgia, and Poland. In fact, Russian troops recently invaded Georgia, but were forced into retreat by firm opposition from Western powers. This nation is a long way from being formed.
Something I'd like to add to this whole thing being talked about with Eastern Europe is that a phone conversation that me and my friend Doc Marquis had in the past, and I asked him, I said, Doc, what do you think is next on the Illuminati's to-do list? And he told me a few things. He said, first, you're going to see Russia go to war with Ukraine. He said, then they're going to go after Poland next. He said that because it's the Illuminati's plan for the Ukraine and Poland to be absorbed by Russia, and that will become one of these 10 kingdoms that we're talking about in today's video. He said also you will see a digital currency come forth. All right, and so I do believe, because of what Doc is talking about, that it's very possible that we will see a greater conflict pertaining to NATO and Russia. All right, and that leads me to believe that our sons and our daughters will be sent off to war. I believe as Americans we should stand against this. I believe the citizens of the world should stand against this. I think that it's fast approaching, though. I'm not going to lie. It's lining up to be that. They're already saying Russia's winning the war with Ukraine. Poland's already starting to mobilize troops. I mean, it's getting pretty hairy, folks. And I definitely believe that these signs show us very clearly that a 10-kingdom order is on the horizon.
Latin America, nation number 6. This nation starts just south of Mexico and extends all the way down to Brazil. While Venezuela and Brazil are leading the way in beginning supernation negotiations, this nation has really not begun forming. However, since all nations but Colombia are now leftist and most are dictatorial, I believe this supernation could come together far more rapidly than any of the others.
Typically brash and defiant, Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro is moving ahead with his boldest move yet, annexing a large part of neighboring Guyana.
4 years ago, Venezuela's President Nicolás Maduro was barred from entering neighboring Brazil. Scores of countries recognized opposition leader Juan Guaidó instead as the interim president. Now, Maduro's left-wing peer, Brazilian President Luis Inácio Lula da Silva, is welcoming him back into the fold.
It's hard to conceive that so many years had to pass without having a dialogue with the government of a brotherly Amazonian country, a neighbor with whom we share a 2,200-kilometer border.
North Africa and the Middle East is nation number 7, not even started yet. Furthermore, African nations are notorious for their bickering and their tribal warfare on a national scale, so I anticipate that forming this supernation is quite a ways off.
What I have to say about MENA, is what they're calling it, the Middle East North African Union, all right, is that it's basically already happened from what I understand. Like, subversively. Like, they're just kind of announcing it. Everywhere you go on the internet, when they speak of the Middle East and North African region, they're literally just calling it MENA. All right, it's almost like it's already merged together since the making of this video that Doc put out around 2008, 2009, in that vicinity. And so, you know, here we are in 2023, and things have moved along quite a bit, as you can see.
Tropical Africa is nation number 8. The same comments that applied to nation number 7 apply here.
The African Union officially took its seat at the table of the world's richest and most powerful countries, commonly known as G20, on Saturday, with the approval of all and at the request of summit's host, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi.
Therefore, we are also years away from the World War III, which shall produce Antichrist, unless the pace towards forming these supernations is dramatically quickened. Several planned events are tied tightly into the World War III, which will produce Antichrist, but Antichrist cannot arise until the 10 nations are formed. If they're not fully formed, Antichrist cannot and will not arise. This biblical sequence is so critically important to keep in our minds. Then we cannot be deceived about events and timelines.
I hope everybody that's been able to watch this video up until now truly sees what's actually going on. The 10 kingdoms of Revelation are beginning to form. That which is spoken of in the book of Daniel, the 10 horns, they're beginning to pop out of the skull of the beast. All right, we are going to see this happen, and it means that we're just moments away from a pre-tribulation rapture. This just completely confirms the time frame that we're in right now. I've been making these videos almost kind of like in a series to encourage you, to show you how close we truly are. And I'm going to tell you right now, all it's going to take is a few wars to pop off to be able to seal the deal on these 10 kingdoms that are forming. I appreciate each and every one of you that has watched this video. May God bless you. May God keep you, and don't forget to go out and change the world in which you live.